So Kelly, you're traveling today, so we'll hop right to it. Happy Friday, by the way. And for anybody watching this is Technology Corner Live with Professor Kelly Siegel, the CEO at National Technology Management. They're a managed services provider and outsourced tech firm based in tropical Detroit, Michigan. And we come to you live 9:15 a.m. Eastern every Friday. So Kelly, today we're talking about backup and disaster recovery. So what are those two things? And let's start there and we'll talk about the difference after that.
Dave, this is a great topic. I'm so glad that you brought this one up. A lot of people bundle them together, and even in our product, it is bundled together, and people wonder why it's rather on the expensive side. And that's a relative term because everybody has a backup. And if you just say, "Oh, we got a backup, we're fine, we're set," well, a backup doesn't mean that much in and of itself. It means, hey, we got a second copy of our data. Well, that's great. What are you going to do with it if you lose your server? What are you going to do if you lose your actual physical building? You have to find a server, find internet connection, find IP. Whereas versus a DR solution is more of a turnkey. They have all of that covered. Where you lose the building, you go to their cloud. You lose the server, they have a server on site. So it's more of a fault recovery, a little more expensive, and it's actually come way down. So ours is standard. We do BDR standard because we don't like disasters.
Yeah.
And for the couple of bucks extra pay, it's worth to have the peace of mind. A lot of times too, if we're doing some upgrades on the server, we can flip them over to their DR server and they don't even know that it's happening. It's just fantastic. This is oftentimes why our price looks a little bit higher than our competition, whereas they'll play the game and just put a backup device in. We're putting a backup and disaster recovery in place.
Got it. So what I hear you saying, and it sounds like backup is limited in terms of what sort of data and where it goes. BDR solution is going to back up not only to some sort of physical server, but to the cloud as well, right?
Correct. So there's fault tolerance. It's system plus system plus system.
Got it.
So it takes more into consideration, and hence it's a couple bucks more. But it's to me, it's the only way to go. And then you didn't ask the question, but I'm going to answer this too. Is a lot of times people think, well, I'm in the cloud, I don't need a backup. Well, you do. I don't need a disaster recovery plan. Well, you do. As you've seen with social media going down last week, they don't have redundancies. They do, but they're internally to their data set. So if you're using Azure or you're using Google or you're using Amazon, you should probably have a DR into one of the other aforementioned names. So we use a lot of Azure. We also put a virtual appliance and shoot that data back over to our BDR company as a system plus system. And it happens, man. But the one time you use it, you're so happy that you did it.
Yeah. So talk to me about some applications that are relevant to our clients that we take and move from a backup environment to a full BDR environment. Like what sort of line of business applications are we talking with them about and making sure they have a good BDR in place for those?
Well, a general rule of thumb in IT, and I'm the sales guy, I'm the owner, I know enough to be dangerous technical wise. Everybody always likes to have dual Active Directory servers. So you don't want to have just the Active Directory is the gatekeeper. It kind of tells you everything that you're doing on site, gives you all the rules and permissions and whatnot. You like to have two of those because that is not simple and easy to rebuild. So if you don't, you like to replicate that somewhere to a backup into a cloud. So we're seeing a lot of AD recovery, and if you're using Office 365, shameless plug here is they have solutions for this that are very simple, very easy. So we leverage that. Sorry. Sorry about that.
All good.
So
You're talking about leveraging that?
yeah, so we leverage that, and then it's always the line of business application. And then this is what people forget is they think that they have a hosted line of business application. That's a great question to ask your line of business hosted provider. So if you're using a mortgage origination software and it's hosted. You think, oh, it's great. So tell me what's their DR plan? If they lose their main data center, and are they doing testing to make sure that it's restored? So a lot of times when we do once a year testing where we fail over to their DR site to make sure that they can use it, because what's good if it doesn't work?
Yeah, right. So what's a common scenario we run into? And let's take my dentist's office here in Fargo, and I won't name them, but they've had issues with the data back and forth and storing it. And I'll go in there to get just an exam or whatever, and I have great teeth, but I'll go in there and they're like, well, we have this new stuff, so we got to get your contact info and insurance info and whatever. And I'm like, great. Why are you asking me for this again? Shouldn't you have it on file? And they're like, yeah, well, we switched companies or switched servers. So they use a dental-based ERP software like Epic in the healthcare industry. Will use that as their ERP or their CRM operations software. So that being said, what should like small healthcare practices be asking of their line of business applications?
Well, it's funny. First of all, your dentist does a wonderful job because I've seen your teeth and it looks great. So they're doing something right.
Thank you.
Having said that, a lot of the smaller dental practices end up buying like Dentrix, which they usually purchase it and put it on site because it's much more cost effective. And sometimes the older dentists, they think that they get something for that and they don't want to pay the perpetual monthly fee. So all too often, if they have a server on site, that is the single point of failure. And Dentrix or OrthoTrack or as you called Epic doesn't do, to my knowledge, doesn't do dental offices, no. But Dentrix does. And all too often, if Dentrix goes down, they're not seeing patients that day unless they still have paper charts, right, which most don't. They're just going to call all patients and cancel. And hopefully, they printed off the patients that they saw the night that for that day, the night before, because if Dentrix is down, they don't know who they're going to see. So you see how backup versus DR would mean they'd have another server sitting right there and they would run on that.
Yeah.
So you can never have enough systems plus systems. And man, it's just like insurance. You always need more.
Yep, 100%. Kelly, I love it. With that, we'll wrap things up today. Just a parking lot item for everyone. If you want to tune in, it's 9:15 a.m. Eastern every Friday. Technology Corner with Kelly Siegel at NTM. Kelly, thanks for joining us for another great Technology Corner.
Hey, be kind to each other. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend.